So in light of the recent Last of Us Season 2 teaser, which in all honesty is not what I expected, I thought I'd take a closer look into this and analyze what I think the second season needs to be. For those who haven't seen it, I have recently covered the second game over on the gaming channel, which is what the second season will be based on, and going by that, it's made overly apparent that some pretty drastic changes need to be made. As you may know by now, I really hate that game. And while the first game was a masterpiece that would be almost impossible to truly imitate, the sequel is not even close to that, and would have to be almost completely rewritten. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to check that out. I go into full detail there. But The Last of Us Season 2 would really have to disregard most of that if it has any chance of being good, and we might get something like that. It's kind of a mixed bag because Season 1 was a lot better than I expected, but it was also not the definitive experience. They could have imitated the game story verbatim and people would have loved it, but instead they did something different, making the characters act different, and even though they didn't really remind me that much of their game counterparts, doing the same thing wouldn't have been worth it. Yeah, it's not going to be as good, and that's okay. But the changes they did make won't cut it for Season 2. I'm going to assume you know what happens in that game before going into spoilers, but this is the game when, you ready? Wait for it. Joel dies. And that was a mistake. Again, a link will take you to a video on why that was a bad decision, along with most of that game. But this is something that should not be redone. The game is essentially a revenge mission after that. Ellie goes on a rampage trying to avenge Joel, and is unrecognizable by the end. Making the game into a revenge tale was a mistake, character motivations make no sense, and the only reason anybody would be on Ellie's side is because they're the characters everybody loves. And that's all there is to it. The person who kills Joel is Abby, and spoilers, it's because he killed her father in the first game, which we also see in the first season, and the reason for this is because Ellie could have been used to make a vaccine, thus ending the outbreak, but that would have meant her death. Joel says no, and you can figure out the rest. This leads to a narrative in which going on a death spree, which includes killing a pregnant woman, is not the most compelling thing. Luckily, based on the teaser, it doesn't seem to be going in the exact same direction. I'm aware that in my analysis I did say I assume they do the same thing, but despite using trailer footage, it wasn't actually out at the time of writing. I just casually threw it in the video, but I don't think it's what the season will be. Now, obviously I could be completely wrong. Second game's trailer was full of lies, literal fake scenes, but the first thing to indicate that would not be the case here is Joel telling Tommy that he condemned them all for her. This makes the consequences a lot more apparent, like allowing an apocalypse to continue and killing people would have consequences. And in the game, he only willingly told Tommy about this, in which he said that's a lot. In other words, you did what you had to do. Saying that he condemned them all means it won't just blow over, and that was honestly one of the game's biggest issues. I don't know if that means Joel will live. Hearing Ellie say we'll finish what we started doesn't really mean that, but like I've been saying, if Joel does die, it can't be for the sake of being a martyr. I would prefer if he had to live a somewhat depressing life as a result of what he did, but regardless, what cannot happen is Ellie just forgives him because plot. The only way he could ever even come close to a happy ending is if he regrets what he did and does something to make up for it. And even though that would really go against his personality in the games, it wouldn't so much in the show. Like I said, they're both a lot different here, so it is a possibility. Speaking of being different, Abby is no longer ugly or extremely buff. She's now played by Kaitlyn Dever, and I can't explain how happy that makes me. I highly preferred her character in the game. There was actually some decent writing going on there, easily the better half, but the utterly pointless, plot-irrelevant physique was overly distracting. This time we have somebody decent looking, so if they don't do anything else stupid to ruin this character, well, that's a good thing. Obviously, The Last of Us Part 2 was infested with woke garbage.
Bigot sandwiches.
One of the first games to do so, I think. And even though it's not enough to ruin the game by itself, it's obvious why it's there. This would hint at the fact that Season 2 won't be like that, as Season 1 mostly wasn't either. I say mostly because there was one episode that was completely pointless, second longest in the season, one of 2 episodes to focus primarily on a gay couple, but one of them involved Ellie, a character we know, and the other did not. I don't care if Bill was in the game, that's completely irrelevant here. The episode is fucking boring, and exists for an obvious reason. It of course got all the automatic good reviews, but it was just one episode, so I don't think it'll be an issue there. The fact that Abby isn't muscular is a big plus. I did not think they would change that. So now we can actually watch it without laughing at its stupidity. Another interesting moment is what seems to be Isaac telling Joel he's gonna pay for what he did. They never actually met in the game, but he was in favor of Joel's death for the sake of justice, so it would make sense if they met here. We don't currently know who else will be in this based on the clips we're given. It definitely looks like it won't just be another cliche revenge plot. We do get a brief look at what I'd assume is Lev, another character in the game that wasn't that fascinating. Maybe they'll fix it here, but it is all we know now. Based on this, it could very easily be a real good follow-up. To do so, they'll have to give the characters the arcs they deserve, opposed to shock value, no personality, and just plain stupidity. That's the second game in a nutshell. Hopefully not the second season, but after being blatantly lied to one time in a trailer, I'm not gonna get excited just yet. It has potential, but as we know, that doesn't always mean anything, so let me know what you think down in the comments. Remember to hit the like button and consider subscribing if you agree the second season should not be the second game. I'm the Analyst, and remember kids, obsessive diversity is not an idea. So, you've made it to the end. That's an impressive feat indeed. Since you managed that, I guess check out the gaming channel, in which I cover a variety of gaming topics, like analysis videos, such as this one. If you're into that, then press the link in the description. It's that simple.